Welcome, I'm Sophia Wanuna. Our sign language interpreter tonight is William Silla. Leaders from the Luya community this afternoon converged for a fundraiser in Kuisero constituency in aid of a girls' boarding school. But it was not the fundraiser that caught the attention of the nation, but those who were invited and the political rhetoric that preceded the fundraiser. Political differences were put aside with a political declaration that come 2017, the narrative of a divided Luya vote will be a thing of the past. KTN's Rashid Ronald begins our coverage tonight with the rare political unity of the Luya leaders.
Huisero Girls Secondary School in Kakamega was the epicenter when talking of the elusive Luya unity, with leaders saying that this time round the community will not allow anyone to use them politically.
Hawa mtu asiseme Waluya hawezi kupika pamoja, sijui Waluya tuko enemies na nini na nini. Wewe usiseme hivyo.
Mahali popote ambapo mtu wetu yupo na anang'ang'ania wadhifa wowote, yeye ndiye awe first priority yetu. We must do this unapologetically and without explanation to anybody.
Upande huu tuna bahati, tunaweza kwenda mbele, lakini ule upande mwingine watu wamejipanga. Ukitoka hapa unasema unaenda kwa Jubilee, niambie huko utapata nini huko? Utapata nini huko? Watu wako wengi, ni tena wamejipanga mpaka 2032, na wewe unaenda huko kufanya nini?
The Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi welcomed the ongoing talks to have him unite with CORD, though he was a bit cagey on the issue.
And we are telling Kenyans, if you can trust our people as house girls, as watchmen, you can trust this community to lead and drive the affairs of this country.
Mudavadi and the Ford Kenya leader Moses Wetangula, all from the Luya community, have indicated that they will seek the presidency come 2017.
Indeed, the elusive Luya unity talks took center stage here, with the speaker after speaker saying that this time round they will do what it takes to ensure that it succeeds. And whether it succeeds is another question. Rashid Ronald, KTN News, Huisero, in the county of Kakamega.
When tabling its report in Parliament on IEBC removal, the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee also tabled the Elections Amendment Bill 2016 and on the elections offences as well. And although the report and the accompanying draft bills could have serious political ramifications across the political divide, members of Parliament have expressed authority from their principals to pass the motion without any amendments. Duncan Hayamba is next with a sneak preview on the Elections Amendment Bill 2016.
According to the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee, the principal object of the bill is to amend the Elections, IEBC, Political Parties, the Supreme Court and Registration of Persons Acts of 2011 in order to address concerns noted by the Joint Committee on matters relating to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission and the conduct of elections. The bill seeks to alter the period for conducting party primaries from at least 45 days before a general election to at least 60 days before the election. Submissions of the party membership list to the Commission has also been changed from at least 45 days before the date of a general election to at least 90 days before the date of election to ensure party members are clearly identified 3 months before the election. Clause 10 of the bill seeks to amend Section 31 of the Elections Act of 2011, which requires political parties to submit the names of persons contesting in their primaries and the date of their primaries at least 21 days before the nomination day. The names and dates are to be published in the Gazette within 7 days of receipt by the Commission. The import of the amendment is to stop party hopping once an individual loses in the party primaries, be it fairly or unfairly. Life for the restless politicians is further complicated by Clause 11 of the bill, which seeks to amend Section 33 of the Elections Act that will require independent candidates to submit to the Commission their names at least 90 days before the general election, and that the Commission publishes the names in the Gazette at least 14 days before the nomination day. This implies that those seeking to vie as independent candidates identify themselves way before political parties conduct their respective party primaries.
I would like to urge the leaderships of the two houses to support the work of this committee by ensuring that the report and the draft bills which are next to the report are passed without any amendment in the two houses.
Clause 3 of the bill seeks to amend Section 5 of the Elections Act to disallow the use of acknowledgement of registration certificate, popularly known as waiting card, as an identification document for the purposes of an election. Also inserted is a new section to provide for an audit of the register of voters and to require that for the purposes of the August 2017 general election, the Commission engages an independent firm to conduct an audit to verify the accuracy of the register and to update the register and submit the report of the audit to Parliament, implement the recommendations set out in the report, and to submit the report of such implementation to Parliament. This means in the event the audit cleans up the voter register, then political parties will have to contend with the aftermath, particularly those whose strongholds will be significantly affected once voters are struck off from the register.
The recommendations that were made, if approved by Parliament, will ensure that this country will have free and fair elections that can be measured by the constitutional standards which are set out.
Another controversial aspect is Clause 39 of the bill, which seeks to amend Section 12 of the Supreme Court Act to require the submission of certified copies of documents used to declare the results of the election of the President to the Supreme Court within 48 hours of service of a petition challenging the election of the President. On future IEBC, Clause 32 of the bill seeks to amend Section 6 of IEBC to remove the requirement that commissioners be citizens of Kenya. This means that should the act come in place, non-Kenyans can be appointed as commissioners to head IEBC. The bill also seeks to amend Section 9 of the Registration of Persons Act to require the issuance of an ID card within 30 days of the date of registration and replacement of an identification card within 14 days. Instructions to their political tenants in Parliament are explicit to adopt the report without any amendments. Will they or will they not, given the serious ramifications that it carries? Duncan Hemba, KTN News.
CORD leader Raila Odinga has supported calls for a proper audit of the country's voter register to arrest cheating in next year's general elections. Raila, who was speaking today in Garsen, Tana River County, said cleaning up the register would help set a level playing field in the exercise. Speaking separately in Kinango, Kwale County, Deputy President William Ruto and National Assembly Majority Leader Aden Duale continued the Jubilee Crusade days before President Uhuru Kenyatta's visit. KTN's Francis Tomwa reports.
Raila arrived in Garsen accompanied by area leaders as he wrapped up his coastal tour with a passionate appeal to the region to elect him in the next general elections. He maintained that giving a credible voters register is key.
Waende nyumbani, sasa tutaweka tume mpya ya uchaguzi. Vile vile tumekubaliana ati ile register itasafishwa.
It has been a classical case of early dash for votes in the region, and pressure was clearly on the CORD leader to solidify what has been his political base for ages.
Bongo mutaambiwa, fitina mtaletewa, lakini pesa ikija mule. Mwakani tukipiga kura mambo ni Raila, Amolo, Odinga, State House.
And as Raila dominated Tana River, Deputy President William Ruto directed his chums to Kinango, where he attended the burial of mother to area MP Gonzirai. Here, he reached out to the masses by outlining some of the projects that his government had initiated in the area. He was flanked by, amongst others, the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Aden Duale.
Tumeweka pesa ya kutosha ili kila mama asilipishwe pesa wakati anaenda kujifungua. Na vile vile sasa tumeongeza ya kwamba hiyo pesa tunataka kuhakikisha ya kwamba sio pesa ya kujifungua peke yake. Sasa kila mama mjamzito akienda hospitali atapatiwa card ambayo imelipiwa na serikali ya National Hospital Insurance Fund.
During his visit, Ruto commissioned several projects in the region and issued title deeds, something observers say was a deliberate move to find access into the region, largely blunted an opposition turf.
Hospitali mbili katika kila county ya Kenya lazima tuweke vifaa ya kutibu na kutambua ugonjwa wa kansa na ugonjwa wa figo.
Sasa wanasema teo mradi hii tutatengeneza, tumetenga siji bilioni ngapi kwa hii barabara, hii ingine itatengenezwa, stima itakuja, hiyo yote ni porojo, manake pesa hakuna.
With the president tour on the cards and Raila promising to return, stakes remain high in the region, with a realignment expected to take shape in the coming days. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News.
Archaeologists have discovered a fresh set of footprints thought to belong to early man in Kobi Fora area near the shores of Lake Turkana. The footprints were found in mud and had been preserved for over 1 million years by subsequent layers of sand, rocks and volcanic ash. Researchers affiliated to the National Museums of Kenya say the footprints belong to Homo erectus, the first ancestor of modern man to learn to walk on 2 limbs. Magna Mwaswa was at the scene and prepared the following report.
Researchers at the scenic eastern shores of Lake Turkana have stumbled upon what might open a window into the past of mankind. His footprints embedded on the hillside of the larger archaeological Kobi Fora region known as GAJI-10. Benjamin Sila is part of the team that has been scouring the area for clues to man's past.
Once we found it, it's a human print, we would all sing one song. This should be a hominid print. And there were other prints like those of birds and other animals like bovids.
At least 7 individuals, and they're going about the same speed in the same direction, which tells us that they must be walking together. Now this is very interesting because you can't learn about the social behavior of human ancestors from the bones and the teeth or from the stones, the stone tools they make.
The footprints made in mud ages ago had been well preserved by subsequent layers of sand, earth and volcanic ash, which experts say date back to about 1.5 million years ago. These human ancestors are said to have been well adapted to survive on land that was facing increasing desertification.
We're talking about milestones in human history. Okay, when we learnt to adapt to walking upright, that's a milestone. When we developed a much larger brain, that's a milestone. When we perhaps discovered fire, that's a milestone in our history.
Here are 2 of our unsung heroes.
The footprints are associated with creatures related to another archaeological find, Turkana Boy, discovered on the western part of Lake Turkana in 1984, whose almost complete skeleton is currently preserved at the National Museums of Kenya in Nairobi. Experts on the ground estimate that these footprints date back to about 1.4 million years ago, the same time that Homo erectus walked on this land. Mark Namaswa, KTN News, Kobi Fora, Marsabit County.
Now, you've probably seen him sell music, CDs and DVDs at Mamangena Street here in Nairobi. He has been doing that for 6 years now. So who is he and why has he kept at it for so long? Well, this is the story of 33-year-old David Omogi, who some call as a hustler. But according to him, he is simply chasing his dream.
You listen to gospel music. 1 minute. Okay, 30 seconds. Hello, do you listen to gospel music? My name is David Ramogi, and I'm from a family of 6. I'm the last born in the family. And music is my passion. It puts food on my plate. I'm able to pay my rent. I mean, it's brought me this far for the last 6 years.
We just had to feel this from the bottom of our hearts, so. And this is how we do it. Check it out, yo. My father really loves me.
Senti died for me in the cross of Calvary where he did what? Shed his blood for me. My father never abandoned me.
Kwa hivyo hiyo
sasa ni DVD na audio na kuzia 350 moja 200. Sawa. I'm single. When I'm not recording, I'm thinking of making or baking a cake, and I'm not going to cake school, and I'm learning stuff. And you know, music and food goes together, depending on how you want to look at it. But for me, it works together. So I go by the name Mogi Mogs, not Mokimo. I do my music in English and Kiswahili. I'm selling you my DVD and audio for $350, or you can buy one for $200.
Unfortunately, I'm not faced yet.
You know, my laptop that have a CD player, so I don't.
Do you have a DVD? Do you have DVD player at
I
home?
don't have an external DVD player.
Most people think that I'm a con man. Most people think I'm out there to flirt. You should buy a CD. No, I started out from Prestige. Not everybody was happy about it, so I ended up leaving. They organized so that I can be told to leave, and I came into Nairobi, the CBD. Sometimes I hardly take breakfast, and I walk to the bus stop, take my matatu, and just prepare myself as I go there. I remember there's a day I'm just selling my CD, and a guy walks up to me, and he hits my CDs off my hands. And so I just pick them up nicely, and I continue. 5 minutes later, he comes with a mug of hot water. And he says, you know, I'll pour this water on you. And he moves back, and he actually... So it's because I just moved, I move a bit, and then the water goes to the side. And then he just walks and he goes. So can I make a small prayer for you, if you don't mind?
Thank you.
You don't mind? Okay, no problem. I've never really let it get to me, but at some point it has. I've thought of leaving the streets at some point. And when time and seasons, when you know a season is about to end and you're moving to a next season, things start happening.
He does hustle, and I think he's a hardworking guy. He comes here at the morning when we open and leaves late in the evening after we close. And I think he's doing a great job. At times he pushes customers into our shop, and I wish all the best for him.
Our time is gonna come, all knee shall bow, times confess. Wouldn't even have time to dress to impress, like thieves in the night, thinking what kind of sight, everything you did in dark shall be brought to light.
I want to get to a point where when I'm singing, if somebody was sick, they'll get healed. If somebody was going through an issue, they're sorted. What I would tell people is that for me it's passion. And I will follow my passion no matter where it takes me.
God is coming soon, don't chill for the word coming soon, and when he comes, will you be with him?
I was just watching that report and remembering walking in town one day, I think it was about 4 years ago, and meeting him there, and who sold a CD to me. So amazing that he's still at it, you know, 6 years on from when he began, and is determined to pursue his passion and his dreams, and we wish him the very best. Well, Lake Nakuru National Park is under threat of pollution from a dump site in Nakuru County. The dump site, which is yet to be relocated from a nearby estate, has waste finding its way into the lake, posing a danger to the wildlife living in the waters and those that consume the waters of the lake. Victor Gale reports.
As the wildlife in Lake Nakuru graze, there is a natural resource that is carrying pollution, which in the long run will be a danger to these animals. The Gyoto dump site, which has been in existence in Nakuru's land and estate, has been a subject of contention within the corridors of power in Nakuru County, with a never-ending debate on the location of its next location. Due to uncontrolled littering, solid waste management is becoming a major public health and environmental concern in Nakuru. During the rainy seasons, runoff contaminated water with toxins from the garbage find its way to the famous home of flamingos, Lake Nakuru, and the rivers that bring water into the lake.
We have had several challenges, but we are encountering, or we are trying to see how we can best manage it, so that as we look for a long-lasting solution, especially when it rains, some solid waste or some plastic is blown out of that dump site or is taken by water all the way to the park.
According to the Nakuru County National Environmental Management Authority officer Mundiwere, this issue of relocating the dam site should be fast-tracked if the lake is to reclaim its lost glory. According to the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, Lake Nakuru is considered one of Kenya's protected sites that safeguard the flora and fauna and help draw more than 1 million tourists a year. The pollution by the dam site upset the chemical balance that is behind its ecosystem. More than a usual amount of water dilutes the alkaline level, supporting the algae that flamingo feed on, making them move to Lake Baringo and Lake Simbi in Homa Bay County.
We are doing a lot of studies on that dam site. And so far, we have discussed with national government, Ministry of Treasury, under the PPP, Public-Private Partnership, and Nakuru is one of the cities where the national government has accepted to do feasibility study on the solid waste. And right now, as we discuss, they have actually sent tenders, and I think they are evaluating, and soon we'll get a consultant in this town by September who will give us exactly characterization of the waste, the number of tonnage of the waste, and so many other things about the waste in Nakuru.
The normal area of the lake was 31 square kilometers in 2010, and that has swollen to 54 square kilometers as at the last survey in 2014. Victor Gale, KTN News, Nakuru County.
All right, you are watching Weekend Prime here on KTN News. Before we go on break, I want to remind you our Saturday night poll question tonight. We are focusing on the Rio Olympics that are ongoing, and we've seen some of our athletes, sportsmen and women do us very proud, but of course there have been very many issues that have been raised around the management of Team Kenya. And we're asking you tonight, do you think the government has done enough to support Team Kenya at the Rio Olympics? Do you think they've done enough? Yes, not at all, or could have done better? This is what some of you are saying tonight. Josh Anya, you say, we are extremely disappointed with our government. They're always after their own interests. And then Gidua Wakoine, you say, yes, but sports cabinet secretary must be investigated. And you're saying you're tweeting from Bahati here in Nairobi. Then we also have Otieno Kasije. It's only in Kenya where the government spends more on legislators in Rio than athletes. Will government reward the winners, is your question. Kibet Korir, you said Dr. Wario has the better answer. Insists Duale could not submit a better name for that slot. Kwanda Blagok, you say a lot of scandals, missing tickets, Nike kits, MP's trip to Rio, and mistreatment of coaches. And then Henry, you said the way athletes are motivated clearly explains why this country experiences athlete drain. And of course, we've seen some of them perform elsewhere, or rather run and compete for other countries. Nafas Masia, I know that... okay, that's actually a different comment. Keep quiet, Mitei Roba, on a question. You say Rio preparation was an embarrassment. Idlers and joyriders were more catered for than our Olympic team. One more before we go. Odi, you're saying the government has done zero for the athletes. I'm even ashamed, but proud at the same time of our athletes. They are greedy. That's the officials, you say. Thank you so much for staying with us here on KTN News. We still have a lot in store for you. Features, Health Digest is still coming up, Daring Abroad, and of course we'll also tell you about the graduation ceremony that happened earlier today at the USIU. So stay with us here on KTN News, please. Welcome back to Weekend Prime. Now, doctors are held in high regard in any society. Theirs is a noble profession. When allegations of medical negligence are reported, it is worrisome. The very people entrusted with lives are not expected to disregard any life. But then, the healthcare system in the country is wanting. Who then, the question is to blame when things go wrong? In this week's Health Digest, Dr. Masi Korir looks at this issue.
The siren and the speed that often announces that whoever is inside the ambulance needs urgent care. But many times the people who are supposed to save such lives find themselves facing allegations of mistreating their patients or simply letting them die. Evan Sayodo recalls his brush with medical staff when his cousin was rushed to hospital.
I touched the pulse and of course he was gone. That's when I went back to the lady and I told her, family, I told you and I'm holding you entirely responsible for the death of my cousin. I told you it was critical, you told me it wasn't critical.
Evans says the treatment started at one hospital, but the condition of the patient worsened, forcing them to seek treatment at a different facility. He says what he saw was sickening.
I was instructed to go to emergency unit because I told them it was an emergency. Okay, the guy was literally gasping for breath and he wasn't talking well.
Such stories of alleged neglect have put the spotlight on the exact obligations doctors have towards their patients. It is all contained in a famous solemn pledge they make on graduation, known as the Hippocratic Oath. But just what exactly does it say?
I don't have idea with that one.
Yeah, I've heard of that once, but not in the deep sense, but I've heard it just juju to kidogo.
They take the oath to like they surrender their lives to the patients.
They should take an oath to protect, like regardless, like to save a life.
I, Dr. Mercy Korir, solemnly pledge myself to consecrate my life to the service of humanity. I will give to my teachers the respect and gratitude which is their due. I will practice my profession with conscience and dignity. These are the first 3 lines of the Hippocratic Oath, an oath taken by doctors across the world, regardless of tribe, religion, or race, when they promise to serve humanity.
Every doctor is expected to be respectful and to have empathy and to treat without any bias for any patients. And on the part of the patients also, they are expected to respect the doctors.
When a loved one is in a critical condition, health workers rely a lot on information from the relatives in establishing an objective analysis of the situation. Such examination informs whether a case is an emergency, urgent, or can wait. Basics for all healthcare workers.
Mama Lucy did absolutely nothing.
The referral to the next facility was quickly done. The mode of referral was discussed between the healthcare workers and the relatives.
An ambulance is at Karen, okay? Mama Lucy is somewhere along Kangundo Road, near Umoja, okay? You look at the distance. These are things that I considered as a person, because the essence is for the patient to reach, where he can get help the earliest time possible.
A proper ambulance is just not a means of transport, but a life support system in its own right, as a patient is transferred for further care. Would the outcome have been any different had this option been taken? Would it have ensured that optimal care is started from that point of contact with the healthcare personnel and while on the way to the next facility?
There is negligence, which is a perception of the public, and then there is a real negligence.
We have 5,800 doctors for 42 million people, and a significant number of those are located in Nairobi. So you can imagine that healthcare delivery in this country basically is being given by non-doctors.
Cases of medical negligence are a big concern throughout the world, but Professor Magoha says what ails Kenya requires a better diagnosis.
A significant number of them are not serious. And if one is to be fair, without being branded that one is protecting doctors, it is an issue of numbers versus the number of doctors versus the number of patients.
The bread and butter disputes in Kenya have only complicated an already bad situation, especially with the now expanded rights.
On the other side, there's a constitution of Kenya which allows everybody now to go on strike, including doctors. So if you want to go legal, it is their constitutional right. But then professionally, there is a problem.
There are many Kenyans like Evans who have horror stories about health workers. but many analysts in the medical field say the picture is more complicated. On one hand, doctors are bound to consider their patients' well-being first, and on the other hand is a healthcare system in need of a cure. Dr. Mercy Korir for Health Digest, KTN.
Welcome back to Weekend Prime. To Daring Abroad now. A Kenyan lands management specialist, Anthony Lamba, is among the key brains behind land reforms in Liberia. The Kenyan specialist, who has just returned to Kenya, had served in similar capacity in Somalia and South Sudan. Our special correspondent Alex Chamwada met him in Liberia as he was concluding his work and filed the following report.
Anthony Lamba was posted to Liberia by the UN Habitat in 2012 to advise the country's Land Commission on land policy and management.
I came here from South Sudan. The reason I was brought here is there was a particular program that the Land Commission wanted to do, which is called Urban Land Inventory. They wanted to inventorize land use in all their urban centers. And since I had done that in Somalia and South Sudan, they asked for UN Habitat to get me here to run a similar program.
The first major task was how to deal with historical injustices, given that in Liberia, land has been distributed in favor of the descendants of the slaves who were freed from the United States of America in early 19th century. They are known as Americo-Liberians.
The Americo-Liberians basically ran the government in Liberia from independence in 1847 till just a few years ago. And the laws that they had, especially the 1973 public land law, it is felt that it was used by the Americo-Liberian establishment to capture very large swaths of land in favor of Americo-Liberians. That's one of the major problems in this country. The laws of this country provide that only a citizen of Liberia can own land, and it goes further to describe a citizen who can't be a citizen. It says that a citizen must be a Negro or someone of Negro descent. Negro is a racial term. We have advised that it should be removed from the Constitution.
Reforms in Liberia have not been easy to come by, given the history of instability, but things are looking up with the support of the international community.
Liberia is blessed with very fertile and arable land. Almost the whole country is arable. A big part of the country is virgin land, it's untouched.
You may be wondering, can a Kenyan own land here?
A Kenyan can own land here. He only needs to fulfill two conditions. So one, most Kenyans are already Negroes, so you have to be a Negro or of Negro descent. And two, you have to be a citizen. So if a Kenyan fulfills those two conditions, he can own land here. Otherwise, he can only lease. Leased period is 25 years, and the lease period can be increased according to how much money you intend to invest in that land.
Anthony's job has not been all that smooth. The most important lesson being deal with challenges, because at the end of the day, you must deliver.
There is severe lack of technical capacity. Most of this is attributed, of course, to the many years lost during the war and people not going to school or for training in high institutions. The second thing, there is a lot of rivalry or protecting of turf between government agencies. So even on a good project, you find that project implementation is delayed because agencies are fighting over their turf.
All said and done, Anthony says he's enjoyed working in Liberia.
I've worked in worse places, so from my perspective, Liberia actually, since I started working with the UN 10 years ago, has been my best duty station.
For Daring Abroad, I'm Alex Chamwada in Liberia.
The United States International University Africa today commemorated the 38th graduation ceremony at the university grounds. The class of 2016 made history as the largest group in the institution's 47 years existence. KTN's very own Sharon Momanyi, who was among the 1325 graduates, could not hide her joy as she graduated with a Master's of Arts in International Relations. For the first time ever in the institution, 21 students received doctoral degrees. The presence of notables could not be missed as Baringo Senator Gideon Moi's wife, Zara Moi, was among those graduating today. She was awarded with a Global Executive Masters of Business Administration degree. The ceremony was presided over by Chief Guest Dr. Mukisa Kitui, who's the Secretary General of the UNCTAD, and as well as the main guest there, as I mentioned.
Be determined not to allow anybody to let you down. You have come from down here. You have seen many fall by the wayside. You have proved that you can be able to reach the top. Now raise the ceiling.
We created Vision 2030, and I was one of the architects. Where are we today? 14 years left. Do you think we can make it? Yes, we can make it if you are determined to make it, to happen.
Our university places a premium on providing our students a rigorous and transformative education. An education, as our motto says, that will take you places, with the indispensable soft skills prized by employers and the lifelong learning skills so essential in a world of rapid change.
Very proud of my friend and colleague there, Sharon Momanyi, of course, and congratulations to all the graduating students. Thank you so much for being with us here on Weekend Prime. Stay with us. We still have more in store for you.